Right now, before we go any further, pause for a moment. Focus intensely on the temperature of the air on your skin. Focus on the texture of the chair against your back. Don't just think about it, feel it. Why did I ask you to do that? By shifting your focus to your senses, you just forced your brain out of the overthinking loop and back into direct experience. That tiny pause is the first step to interrupt the exhausted thinking cycle, and rewiring begins in real time. Today, we are talking about thinking about your thinking process, what neuroscience calls metacognition. We'll explore why it drains your energy, why it fuels anxiety, and 5 practical ways to regain control of your mind. First, let's understand the problem. Metacognition is the brain's ability to observe and analyze its own thoughts. This ability is what makes humans intelligent. It allows you to reflect, plan, evaluate decisions, and improve your behavior. But there is a hidden cost. Inside your brain, there is a network called the default mode network, or DMN. This network becomes active when you are not focused on a specific external task. Its job is to review the past, predict the future, and simulate possible outcomes. In healthy balance, this is useful. But when the default mode network becomes overactive, it traps you in continuous internal dialogue. You replay conversations, you analyze mistakes, you imagine worst-case scenarios, you question your decisions. And even though nothing is physically happening, your brain is working overtime. The brain consumes about 20% of your body's total energy. When you constantly imagine threats or evaluate yourself, you burn glucose and oxygen as if you are solving complex problems all day. That is why you feel tired, even when you have done nothing physical. Mental exhaustion is not weakness, it is metabolic. Now here is where anxiety enters the picture. When your brain repeatedly simulates negative outcomes, your nervous system does not clearly distinguish between imagination and reality. The amygdala, which is responsible for detecting threats, activates stress responses even when the threat is only a thought. Over time, this creates a chronic state of low-grade stress. Eventually, your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, becomes fatigued. When this happens, emotional regulation weakens. You become more reactive, less decisive, and more overwhelmed. This is why overthinking often leads to anxiety. You are not anxious because life is impossible. You are anxious because your brain never powers down. So how do we interrupt this cycle? Not by fighting your thoughts. Fighting thoughts actually strengthens them, because attention is fuel for neural circuits. Instead, we retrain how the system operates. Let's begin with the first and most powerful tool, the sensory override. When you intentionally focus on physical sensations, like your breathing, the texture of an object, or ambient sounds, you activate task-positive networks in the brain. These networks suppress the default mode network. In simple terms, sensing turns off excessive thinking. The brain cannot fully simulate the future while it is deeply processing sensory input. This is why grounding techniques work. They shift neural activity from imagination to perception. This is not spiritual, it is neurological. The second method is cognitive labeling. When a negative thought appears, instead of saying, "I am a failure," say, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." This small linguistic shift creates psychological distance. In neuroscience, this is called cognitive diffusion. It reduces activity in the amygdala and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex. In other words, you move from emotional identification to objective observation. You are not the thought. You are the observer of the thought. That distinction weakens the loop. The third method is the worry window. Overthinking often persists because your brain fears forgetting something important. It believes constant rehearsal equals safety. So instead of suppressing worries, schedule them. Choose a specific time each day, maybe 4 p.m., and dedicate 15 minutes to writing down concerns and analyzing them. When intrusive thoughts appear outside that window, tell yourself, "Not now. We have scheduled time for this." This works because the brain relaxes when it knows information is stored. Writing externalizes mental loops, reducing cognitive load. The fourth method is slowing the body. Your mental speed and physical speed are connected through the autonomic nervous system. When your thoughts race, your body subtly accelerates. When you deliberately slow your movements, you signal safety to the brain. Try performing one task at half your normal speed. Walk slower, wash dishes slower, speak slightly slower. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms stress responses and reduces cognitive intensity. The body influences the mind more than most people realize. Finally, reduce input overload. Your brain continuously processes everything in your visual field. Clutter, notifications, and constant digital stimulation keep your nervous system activated. Every object is interpreted as a potential task. Every notification triggers anticipation. Clearing one physical surface in your environment creates what psychologists call attentional relief. It reduces background cognitive processing. A calmer visual field supports a calmer mental state. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. Overthinking is not a character flaw. It is an overactive prediction system. Your brain evolved to anticipate danger. In modern life, that same system turns inward. Instead of scanning for predators, it scans for personal mistakes and social threats. But awareness gives you leverage. When you understand that mental exhaustion is neurological, not moral, you stop blaming yourself. When you realize anxiety often comes from simulated threats, you stop treating thoughts as facts. And when you practice sensory grounding, cognitive labeling, scheduled worry, physical slowing, and input reduction, you retrain your neural pathways. Neuroplasticity means your brain changes based on repeated experience. Each time you interrupt an overthinking loop, you weaken it. Each time you return to the present moment, you strengthen stability. Over time, mental clarity becomes your default state instead of mental noise. You do not need a different brain. You need a better relationship with the one you have. Overthinking is not intelligence. It is intelligence without direction. And once you learn to direct it, your energy returns, your anxiety decreases, and your quality of life improves. Not because the world changed, but because your neural patterns did. That is the power of behavioral neuroscience applied to personal development. Your mind is not your enemy. It is a system, and systems can be trained.